All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to Green White Checkered TV. Tonight we have the Dark Horse Racing Area 51 Indy Series tonight at Pocono. 90 laps is our race distance this evening. Drivers just now rolling on track to get their qualifying laps in to see what they can do. So we'll keep an eye on them and see what they're able to do this evening. And so, of course, we'll be watching our own Steve Gottschalk. But before we get to Steve here, we're going to pull up our point standings going into tonight. Craig Forsyth on a roll the last few weeks, jumps to a 26-point lead over Nick DeGroot, and only a 1 point between Nick and Scott Rankin there in second. Second and third, I should say. Jim Brooks up into that fourth position, but you can see from third on back, it's a pretty big margin there, about 58 points. However, look at that tiebreaker here. We got Jim Brooks right there with Eric Peterson. We got Matt Wagner, Jeff Heisung, Eric Schaus, all right on top of each other in the points, so still very close in that top 8 here, with Joseph Morales, Yari Brewpacker rounding out our top 10. So with that, we're going to hop over to our birthday boy here on the track here, Steve Gottschalk. So Steve, you got able to get some practice laps in before qualifying here, and so I know you're just trying to throw some qualifying laps down in that car. What have you been noticing from these guys in practice, and then also what's something that you feel like is going to be the way to get a good qualifying lap here tonight?
And find the right settings with their weight jacker and roll bars is probably going to put down the best lap. This is it's pushy.
Even so, by pushy in traffic or pushy just on its own in qualifying here?
Pushy on its own in qualifying, and even pushier in traffic on exit in all 3 turns.
Oh wow! So yeah, that's going to be, you're right. It's getting those settings right. It's going to be extremely crucial. So we'll see who's able to get that done the best here tonight. Let's say we still got we're about halfway through the session, so still another 2.5 minutes roughly to go. And then let's switch over to the race trim side of things. Steve, what was something that you've been noticing running some laps? Or I think I saw you with Thaddeus McMurray for a little bit. Anything that stood out for you in those laps you're able to run with him there?
I was able to at least keep pace with him for a while. I wasn't able to pull up on him, and I was trying different things to try and deal with the push. I was playing with the gearing because it seems like if I went down to fifth as I was going into first turn 1, and then stayed in fifth all the way through the tunnel turn and into turn 3, that I was faster than if I tried to stay in sixth the whole time. But I would go into sixth on the front straight to take advantage of the draft. I think if I understood better how to play with the settings on this car and where to back off so that I could still get the best run through the turn possible, I might have been able to pull up on him, but it was actually very frustrating for me. I heard these guys saying they feel that it's very racy tonight. They seem to be very happy with the setup and the way these things are able to race in a pack, which I didn't get to experience.
Yeah, I think that's whenever you're running a league and sessions, let's say that's what you want to see, is you want to have a racy setup. And like I said, for me personally, I feel like Indianapolis and Pocono really put on the best races for these Indy cars. You get the long straightaways to really be able to kind of stretch your legs and kind of use that draft to your advantage, especially with these cars with about that 1.5 second draft window. But like I said, then also still having to be smart about where you need to put that car in the turns as well. So yeah, I think you're right. I think this will be a very racy one tonight. I think it's going to be a lot of fun for these drivers here. And a lot of racing to do here. Also, again, Steve, 90 laps is a scheduled distance. Hearing about 20 or so on fuel. So, I mean, that should guarantee us, I believe, 4 pit stops, if I'm not mistaken. So, we'll have to see what that's going to entail for the strategies as well. Because if we do see those yellows, the timing of those could be extremely crucial.
I'm noticing that the qualify times are all pretty close to each other. I think that at some point it may string out a little bit. Probably the top few are going to stay together, but this is very technical. So I think that it'll be both a few mileage thing and who's able to get around this track the best.
Yeah, exactly right. So we got to pull up our qualifying results, and I won't say an upset, but a really good lap here tonight. Jack Walls takes pole position, that number 83 Pennzoil machine, over Anders Arhus in second, Jim Brooks there in third, and then you start to get some of our heavy hitters so far this season. Scott Rankin, Nick DeGroot in fourth and fifth, and they got Charles T there sixth, AJ Hobson, Matt Wagner, Luis Gonzalez, and Eric Peterson rounding out our top 10. And we'll run through the remainder of the grid here. You got Jeff Heisung, Gary Corley, 11th and 12th. And then 13th on back, you've got Craig Forsyth, Michael Spell. Steve, I'm not letting you race tonight. Sorry. Even if it's your birthday, you're stuck in the booth here with me tonight. But that's going to move Joseph Morales there, Eric Schaus, Alec Coates, Status McMurray, and Joseph DeCiro. So it looks like we have 19 drivers that should be taking part in tonight. So this is going to be a fun one here tonight, and say again a little different on the starting line for kind of who's able to line up where. In my opinion, a really good pit stop there, or qualifying lap, I should say, by Jack Walls here.
Yeah, definitely a very good qualifying lap. And it's been a long time since we saw Jack Walls on the pole, if ever. So he's been very racy lately.
Yeah, he's definitely been stepping up his game these last few weeks, and in all series, he's been in the running in a lot of the super speedway races on Thursdays and Sundays. And you're right, he's been in the thick of it here as well. So we'll see. Say again, those 90 laps, a lot of time to make a lot of things happen. So we'll see kind of who's able to put themselves in the best place at the right time. But I think pit stops are going to be crucial. And the other thing too, Steve, is going to be that pit exit. You can see the blue cone right there. That's where you're allowed to merge onto the track. And these cars, again, they are not very friendly with that banking transition. So drivers are going to have to be very cautious about when to roll off of that banking, or onto the banking, I should say, for these laps here.
Yeah, that's very true. And they're also going to have to watch not to get their left tires on the aprons here, because especially in the tunnel turn, I was living dangerously and I kept touching it, and finally I got a little bit too much on it and spun out completely.
Yeah, no, I said these things are definitely not very friendly with the banking transitions. You see the field all rolled off onto the track here. And again, so it's going to be Jack Walls, Anders Arhus, our front row, and then Jim Brooks, Nick DeGroot, row number 2 here. So again, initial start here always is on the green. So it's going to be basically who can get to the throttle quickest between the 83 and the 10 to get into turn number 1. And I think everybody on back is going to be just trying to search for that clean air, even on this opening lap. And I think the reason for that too, though, Steve, is that those cold tires are going to be extremely crucial. They're going to have to build up a little bit of temperature because they're going to be getting up to some pretty high speeds really quickly. And we'll pull up at some point in the race here. We'll pull up what kind of speeds these guys are running heading down into turn number 1 tonight.
Yeah, it's a really good point about the cold tires, because we've seen before where, these guys have to loosen the car up to get through the turns better, which they're probably going to do with this setup tonight. And they're on cold tires and they go into turn 1 and the thing just comes around on them unexpectedly.
Yeah, exactly right. So we'll see. We'll definitely be keeping a close eye on that. However, it's going to be Jack Walls and Anders Arhus leading the front row to the green flag here, as we're going to see the pace car make a sharp left off onto the pit road. And you see a pretty quick green flag there as well from the exit for the pace car to the start of the race here. And right now, Anders Arhus just has a nose ahead, but of course, Jack Walls is going to have that inside line heading into turn 1. But look at Nick DeGroot already looking 3 wide here in turn 1.
And apparently he thought better of it, backed off.
Yeah, that's probably one of those things. You play chicken, see if you can get somebody to bite. But so far, so good. Looks like everybody's going to get through turn 1 clean, as it's still going to be Jack Walls leading it into turn number 2. But here comes Scott Rankin. He's going to try to make a move. You see Jim gets real tight on the outside line. Charles T just about kisses the wall through the tunnel turn as they head into turn number 3 for the first time.
It's interesting. It looks like the outside line is working a little bit better. I guess these guys on the inside are just, when they have to pinch it coming off the turns, it just pushes a little bit too much for them.
Yeah, I think momentum is going to be big for this. But look at Jack here. He is just going to try to get away from these guys. He's just trying to go run and hide right now in that 83 car. You see Anders Arhus, Jim Brooks, they're pretty close together here for that second position, as Jim's going to try to peek to the inside here going into that tunnel turn. And you also see the 4 there, AJ Hobson working Charles Teed over here as well. I think these guys able to spread it out just a little bit. Jim looked like he just maybe kissed the wall there off of the tunnel turn there for a moment. You could see the damage that popped up on the screen, but looks like he's going to get away with it there. We'll have to keep an eye and see if that car's got any semblance of maybe just that little kiss of the wall there.
Yeah, and it's definitely, for me at least, a little bit tougher to judge where to get on the gas coming and, you know, how to steer it properly if you're on the outside line, because then you have to worry about hitting the wall even more when you come off the turn.
Yeah, look at Jim here actually dropping to the inside line. Was going to try to protect that spot, but looks like Anders is pretty content right here. Again, we talked about the fuel mileage, and actually we got a big battle there in the tunnel turn here. We're going to jump back to that because you've got Nick DeGroot here. Luis Gonzalez is right in that mix. Charles Teed, Scott Rankin. So, again, some of the big names in the points here all bundled up together here. And surprisingly, one of the names that we haven't talked about yet in the points, our leader is Craig Forsyth. He's gained 4 spots here, but not a good qualifying attempt for that 27 car, so he's having to work his way from the back to the front.
And I think the best way to pass at a track like this is probably going to be coming off of turn 3 and getting a good run on somebody, use the draft to hopefully pass them before you get to turn 1.
Yeah, that definitely is an opportunity. I said there's a lot of places where you can make these passes happen. You see, and again, the lines are going to see, you see Nick DeGroot pretty much rim riding it there through turn number 3. And then you're going to see the snake here down the front stretch. Again, everybody trying to break the draft, stay in the draft. It's going to mean so much there. As you see the 4, AJ Hobson, he's going to try to jump underneath Anders Arhus in turn number 1. And it's just like you said, Steve, you want to try to complete that pass before the turn because, yeah, you're right, the outside line just carrying a lot of momentum for these guys here.
Yep, and it was kind of interesting. Nick DeGroot got a heck of a run down the front straight, and he just before turn 1 tried to get to the outside of I'm not sure who was ahead of him.
I think it was Charles Teed there.
But Charles closed the door on him. It's just pulled right up in front of him, so couldn't get the outside.
You saw again Nick trying to take a peek there underneath Scott Rankin. Again, you think about the championship battle. I mean, these guys are right in the thick of it with one another. So that's going to be another one to watch here as well. So, and we're going to jump back to Luis Gonzalez because Craig has gotten around him. And I think Luis is playing nice right now at the moment, just kind of cruise control. I think, again, the fuel mileage, I think, is going to be a very important thing here tonight, Steve. Again, these guys up front, Jack Walls, Jim Brooks right now, I think they're just full rich. They're just kind of pedal to the metal. You're just trying to make as much time as they can. But when you start to get further back in the pack like you are here with Luis and Craig and these guys, there is opportunity for fuel savings here. So we'll have to see which drivers maybe trying to get all that track position, which ones maybe just trying to take it easy here, be calm for the opening stint of this race, maybe try to stretch a couple laps as well.
Well, we've certainly seen in the stock cars that people can win at this track on fuel mileage. I'm curious to see what happens with these guys.
That's a good point. I think the big question is going to be for the pit stops is, can drivers make a pit stop here without getting trapped one lap down? I think that's going to really open up the opportunities for these drivers of what that decision is going to be. Maybe doing that short pit strategy to try to get back out and on track here in front of the field. That's always the big risk to me with Indy cars is you can't. It's really tough to short pit because you just don't know if you're going to get trapped that lap down. And more often than not, you do at those 1.5, 2 mile tracks. But I say Pocono, kind of its own animal, kind of like Indy. Usually you can pit under green and not lose that lap depending on how far you are from the lead pack. So I think that's going to be my big question if we go green here to our first scheduled pit stop, which again should be roughly around lap number 20 or so.
Nick DeGroot is really on the move. He's worked his way up to 3rd.
Yeah, I was just picking in on that as well, Steve. We were talking about him kind of being buried in the pack a little bit, but yeah, he's jumped all the way up to 3rd, ran the fastest lap of the race that last time by, over half a second quicker than the top 2 in front of him. This time by about 0.4 of a second quicker. So yeah, Nick is on a charge right now. Maybe he was just trying to maybe baby those tires in a little bit before he really kind of showed his hand here. So. But look at this exit off of turn number 1 here. He's going to dive straight under that 51. Like I said, I think going to actually clear this pass before he hits that tunnel turn.
Yeah, he definitely. I mean, I don't know what he was doing. Maybe saving tires, but or he made some adjustments. But he's lights out right now.
Yeah, he's definitely on a rail here. Is again, I'll say it's a great start still for Jack Walls. I'll say definitely don't want to count anything against him here. He's started this race perfectly from the pole, able to sneak away there, build a little bit of a margin. But say he's going to have that yellow and black car is going to have a black and yellow car all over his rear wing here in just another lap, or not even half a lap it looks like, as again Jack just trying to break that draft a little bit, but I think it's just going to be not enough time here, because here comes Nick going to try to take the lead through the tunnel turn.
Wow, he's just uncontested.
So now the question is going to be, can Jack keep up with Nick here? And it'll also be fun to see kind of what lines does Nick change, because he was kind of living on that top side in the dirty air. As you can see, he goes straight to the inside again, going to try to protect that inside line. And I think, again, just try to break that draft a little bit. Like I said, you're going to see a lot of snaking down that front stretch here, Steve. But say this is where that draft could come into play. So what Jack needs to do is he needs to try to keep some clean air on the front wing of that 83 car. And then same thing for Jim Brooks, and maybe they can just kind of tag on and try to see if they can maybe sneak away from that number 4 of AJ Hobson, who's about 1.2 seconds off them right now. Oh, kind of close call for Jim there off of the tunnel turn. Again, to me, it looked like for just a brief moment, it looked like he hit it. He showed damage for that brief second, Steve. But again, looks like he gets away with it. So that 51 car is just living right on the absolute edge off that turn 2 exit wall.
But him and Jack Walls are doing a great job keeping up. And is that AJ Hobson? That's looks like he's kind of sneaking into the picture.
Yeah, AJ Hobson's starting to creep into the mix there in that number 4 machine. So I think he's going to be the next to watch, because he has been closing that gap in that number 4. So right now he's about just 0.6 of a second off these guys up in front. And then actually we're going to drop back, because you got a nice little battle here right behind him. You've got Luis Gonzalez watching this fight with Scott Rank and Anders Arhus. It looks like Scott's going to grab that spot through turn number 3. And say now he's going to set his sights as well on those guys up front.
And Jim Brooks making a move.
Yep, going after Jack Walls here, but look at the dirty air. He's going to be right in the wake of that 89 car, and look how bad he had to wash up. That's going to give Jack the opportunity to try to cut right back underneath him. Plus, actually, you see Nick running the low line here. He's almost, the way he's working these lines, kind of just keeping them side by side. And if that's intentional, a really good strategy by Nick here to just try to kind of stretch his lead from them and keep them fighting each other. That way they can't close up on him and try to fight him back for the lead.
Yeah, I think he's probably also trying to take the shortest way around to save as much fuel as he possibly can.
Yeah, a lot of strategies that can happen here tonight. But like you said, though, AJ Hobson, he's right back into this here as well. Down to about not even half a second here. And a little off-schedule pit stop here. Not sure if it's due to damage or not, but Charles Teed here pitting at lap number 15, Steve, or coming to 14, I should say. So looking at the car looks clean. Can't see if there's any damage maybe that's preceding this. Or again, maybe just Charles trying to go off strategy a little bit in that number 50.
Well, you said that they felt they could go 20 laps, right?
Yep.
So let's see, 20, 40, 60, that's 2 stops. 80, that's 3 stops.
And so he's going to come out right in the thick of the field here too. This is going to be a tough spot to merge out on. And so I think he was far enough back that actually it looks like this is going to cost him some positions. And actually I'm looking at the timing and scoring. He did drop a handful of spots prior to this. Let me go back. We're going to take another look here with Charles T to see if maybe there was some contact off. Oh, big slide there. Yeah, he made contact with the wall in the tunnel turn. Everybody had to make evasive action to avoid him. So that was a required pit stop there to get damages repaired done to that number 50 car. Use that fast repair. But we got to jump back up front here, Steve, because we got a new leader there in that 51 for just a brief moment, because here comes Nick right back after him.
Impressive, though. It was a great move by Jim Brooks.
So say we'll go back. We'll take a look at that pass for the lead, because we didn't get to catch it. Again, once again, off the tunnel turn, Jim's able to peak low there coming into turn number 3. And this time makes that low line work, Steve. We talked about the high line with the momentum that you're able to build. And I think that's also a goal here for Jim, is probably try to get a lap led in that 51 car. which he does get done, so get a bonus point to him there. As once again we go back live and they're right back at it once more here through turn 3. Jim's going to grab the lead. Oh, it's close there off of turn number 3. And Nick's going to cut right back underneath. These guys having a nice little battle here for the front. And while they do that, we've got the whole field starting to creep back right back into the picture.
Yeah, Jim is, he's definitely very fast, very racy right now.
And I say the thing that we haven't talked about, Steve, is the strategies that some of these drivers can do here at a track like Pocono. Obviously, we're used to kind of the closed body stock car racing where you want to go faster, you push that car in front of you forward. With these Indy cars, what you can do is what I call leapfrogging, where basically you grab the draft off that car in front and you just basically slingshot right around them, and then they kind of return the favor to you when they get to the next position available or next opportunity on the track here. And that's a way these guys can try to sneak away from the guys behind if they can break that draft enough. So at some point we might see some drivers maybe try to do that where they can break away. Right now Jack Wall is obviously way too close here, but I think that's what we're seeing here from Nick and Jim here is I think they're working together to try to keep this pace up that they have right now and try to keep the battle between the two of them without bringing Jack and AJ into the mix right now.
Yeah, it does kind of seem that way, and the advantage is the guy behind gets such a run on the guy in front because of the draft that if he has to, it kills his momentum if he backs off.
Yeah, it really does, and that brings Jack Walls right into the picture where then Jack can try to peek underneath Jim there, or in this case, Nick DeGroot. So, and that's why these guys do it. And I need to mention the first of our scheduled green flag pit stops is going to be Luis Gonzalez there in that 14 car as he hits his pit stall now. So this will be a good question mark to see where he comes out in relation to our leaders if he's able to stay out on the lead lap, because he's kind of pitting towards the back half of the pit road here. So it's like
you are pitting.
Yeah, here comes some of our leaders coming in, and no surprise to see Jack Wall stretching fuel. And it looks like a nice clean entry between our top two here that coming into the pit stop. But it's going to be Jack Walls and AJ Hobson now that lead the field. And yeah, indeed, the 14 car Luis Gonzalez easily clears the field here. So you can pit without losing a lap, Steve. And I think that's going to be a very crucial strategy at the later half of this race.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in some ways, this is like you play it almost like a road course.
Yep, exactly right. I think track position is going to be king here tonight, as Nick and Jim looks like they're just rolling off of pit road pretty much together. It looks like, once again, we'll double check on that and say here comes Jack Walls. He's going to hit pit road here for his scheduled stop. And think these guys now taking over with AJ Hobson being the next one in line here. I think these are those drivers that were saving fuel this first run, Steve, going a little bit longer. Maybe try to shorten that final pit stop should we go green from start to finish here.
And I would say the only way that someone's going to be able to make it on one less pit stop is, let's see, 30, 60, 90. They're going to have to go 30 laps, and they can't do that.
Yeah, no, I think the only... as I said, it's not going to matter because Craig Forsyth's up in the wall here, but actually keeps it straight here. So, oh man, it's a huge heartbreaker for Craig. Our points leader coming into tonight. We're going to take one more look at this. Not sure if there's contact or if it's net code here. We're going to get a better angle. Yeah, no, definitely contact between the 10 and the 27. Say, just looks like they're kind of going for the same real estate, and Craig tries to hang on to it there, but unfortunately just isn't able to keep it off the wall, but does keep it pointing in the right direction. So we do stay green here, and you can see Craig just trying to limp that car for all it's worth to get back to pit road. And it looks like he's already down and away, so I think he succeeds in that. So great driving by Craig to hang on to that car. We'll jump back live so we can see where that 27 is. And actually, it looks like he's got another lap, Steve. Surprising that he did not hit pit road there to get services done to that 27 car. And say somehow Craig able to make a decent bit of speed with as damaged as his car is. I was saying, I'm not sure what the cause was for him to prevent him from entering the pit stall. But you can see right here, though, he's going to go... well, actually, this is going to be kind of for the lead of the race, if you will, as the leaders are swinging on by there, Jim Brooks and Nick DeGroot. So I would suspect we'll see Craig in for sure this time around. And yeah, here he comes. But yeah, I'm a little thrown off. Of course, as he starts to slow down pit speed, it's just going to make matters a little bit worse there. But right now, it's actually Eric Schaus here, who has yet to pit, Steve. Now he's going to hit pit road. He's going to come all the way almost to lap number 24 in that 72 car. So really stretching the fuel number here tonight.
Yeah, he's the king of fuel mileage. I don't know why Craig stayed out that extra lap. I can't make sense of that.
Yeah, the only thing I could think of was maybe he was expecting a yellow, but looking at also in the pits here, we got, looks like some penalties. Eric Peterson, a long pit stop for him. Thaddeus McMurray as well, just now coming out of pit road there. So unfortunately, a few guys looks like got burned with some pit penalties. So what this is going to do, though, we talked about the strategies here, Steve. Nick DeGroot, Jim Brooks, they're going to come out with about a 2-second lead, almost 3 seconds over Luis Gonzalez here. With AJ Hobson. So I think this is where we talked about that leapfrog. This is really where it's going to come into play here. If these guys can keep working together like they are, this could make the race be between the two of them and kind of just make everybody else be trying to fight for third on back. So this will be, lap times are going to be extremely interesting to see over this next fuel run.
Yeah, I'm curious to see if the guys behind him can reel him in or not.
And I think it's all going to depend on if they can work together or not. So right now, Luis has got the toe here of that 36 of Eric Peterson. Say Craig Forsyth actually still on pit road in that 27. So not sure, just now starting to roll off. But that car still looks significantly damaged. No, actually, no, it looks like he's back to good here. But it was about a minute in the pits there. So I'm not sure what happened there for Craig. Kind of a very odd situation for him, and unfortunately a big hit for him after having a couple great weeks in a row in the points, taking over that points lead. It's going to drop him back right into the thick of that battle with, I think it was Nick DeGroot and Scott Rankin, second and third. So yeah, so now I think it's going to be lap times that we're going to be watching here, Steve. So right now, last time by, 41.14 for Nick DeGroot, 41.35 for Jim Brooks, Luis Gonzalez a 41.29. So they are running very similar times here. So it's just going to be interesting to see. Again, the big question is going to be at this point is actually Eric Peterson that's leading this train behind them. If he can get to that second and a half window behind those two up front, that's where you'll really start to see the time pick up. But you can see these guys just doesn't look like they're really working together here, Steve. I think that's going to be the advantage going back to that 51 and 89 because you can see they're pretty much committed here to work with one another. And I mentioned trying to look at the speeds and everything, Steve. Let's go ahead and see exactly how fast these guys are going here. I gotta find the stats though once again. Of course, as I said, and I can't find it. There it is.
I'm getting a 41.6 for Nick DeGroot on the last lap.
Yeah.
And Luis Gonzalez has actually pulled up by a tenth from the lap before.
You're right. Actually, I think I was looking at their best lap versus their last lap, so good call there, Steve. So I'm going to pull up lap times right now because I'm going to jump to Nick DeGroot here because he's going to have that toe behind Jim, and it looks like actually Michael Spell as well. And you can see here, actually, I think rolling out of it, but it looks like easily can hit 230 going into turn number one. So talk about the speeds these guys are going to be making. So it looks like about 230 miles an hour for these guys down the straights here. And that time by here, Steve, it was a 41.60 for Jim there, 66 for DeGroot, and a 66 for Luis Gonzalez. So yeah, Luis, his lap time is right on pace with these guys. However, you can see the interval now with them is about 2.5 seconds. So it is outside that draft window at the moment.
Yep. It was 2.7 before. Right now it's 2.6. I think it's going to be back to 2.7. Yep, it is.
Yeah, it went right back to it again because yeah, it's about a tenth quicker last time for Nick and Jim here. So these guys, I mean, this is right now. It's kind of trying to make this a 2-horse race. If they can accomplish that, I mean, it's going to be a great opportunity for them to again just try to have max points. And then it's that kind of that cat and mouse game of if you start to get to the end of this race, which move do you make when to try to win this race if it's between the two of you. However, like I said, still a lot of racing to go. So you got Luis here right there in the 14, AJ Hobson's right there, Jack Walls as well in that number 83. And then you got to go a little further back here. Some of these guys making some really fast times here. Scott Rankin, Matt Wagner, Anders Arhus. I think they're starting to work together as well, because I saw Matt ran a 41:33 the time before. This time a little slower. So I think these guys starting to try to work together again, try to do that leapfrog. I know Matt and Anders sharing Discord together, so they're probably in communication, saying like, hey, this is what we got to do to try to get back into the thick of this thing.
And they are quite a ways back. They're 6.3 seconds behind the leaders.
Yeah, exactly right. They have a lot of ground to have to make up. And then we have to go back here. Eric Schaus here in the 72 car again. He went by far the furthest on fuel. Looks like about 4 to 5 laps further than those that pitted before him. So the question mark for Eric is that final stop. How much earlier could he possibly pit? Because now he's actually got a nice draft in front of him of, I believe, Thaddeus McMurray's in the. Oh, actually, no, I'm sorry. That's Alec Coates ahead of him. So that could be an opportunity here for Eric to once again save fuel in that 72 car. And say maybe not make the gains on track, but try to shorten that last pit stop here.
Which, I think maybe it'll get him 3 or 4 seconds over other guys, but yeah. I don't think it won't be enough to win the race.
Yeah, right now he's about 11 off the leaders here. So yeah, it's going to be tough sledding, but I mean, there's still so much time left to go, like we mentioned. That being said, though, Steve, we are already a third of the way through this one, lap 32 here of 90. So, I mean, let's say when these guys are in a green, they can set a very, very torrid pace here, running 41-second laps here.
Luis is still hanging in there, though. He's 2.8 behind, which is what he was, I think, the last lap and the lap before. So,
yeah, I think they got to start talking. I think AJ Hobson, Luis Gonzalez, I think they got to start talking to each other and say, hey, if we're going to catch these guys, we got to work together. So I think this is where we want to watch that 4 car to see, does he make a move? Or maybe this again, maybe AJ's maybe trying to think a little bit big picture as well, because he did go 2 laps longer than Jim and Nick here. So with these guys, they're running very aggressive right now. And so we talk about maybe a couple seconds not making a big difference for Eric Schaus. 2 or 3 seconds could be huge for AJ Hobson here. So this could be, again, part of a bigger picture, bigger strategy in that 4 car. And again, this is all pending things going all the way to the end here, but not a bad position for that 4 car to be in now that I'm looking at the numbers here, Steve.
Yeah, he may be sitting back there in a different fuel map, just kind of saving fuel and using the draft.
As soon as I say that, of course, he drops to the inside of that number 14. And I said, this is what you don't want here, Steve, though. This is not the way to make the time, is when you try to make that pass and you stayed side by side, then you're just slowing each other down, and that's what makes it that much more difficult. As I say, we got Charles Teed. He's had to hit pit road for his second stop here again. He's off sequence due to that damage he had earlier on. He's just going to have to try to make the best of a bad situation and probably, unfortunately, hope for a yellow. But right now, saying we talked about that 2.8 second gap, Steve. These guys going, look at, they're still side by side here. It's already ballooned up to now almost 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, that side by side is definitely killing those guys.
Yeah, and they're staying just completely. Eventually, someone's got to give here. It's just not going to work. But again, it's a lot easier when you race with some drivers that you're familiar with, or if it's a teammate. Like I say, Nick DeGroot, Jim Brooks. There's no teamwork here. This is just them kind of working with each other to have the best situation they can for one another. Scott Rank and Matt Wagner, that's a different situation. They are working together. They are sharing the same Discord, so they're in communication. They know what they need to do. But yeah, I think Luis Gonzalez, AJ Hobson, relatively new with one another here in the league. So I think that's where that little bit of a communication breakdown is unfortunately hurting both of them at the moment. But actually, here comes Luis now a little early, Steve. This is 36 of 90. I think still in the window to be okay here to make it on the planned schedule stop distance here, but again, much earlier than the rest of the leaders here. He last pitted at, he's right on schedule. He was at 18, so this is at 36. So it looks like he can go about 18 on fuel. So based on those numbers, we may see Nick and Jim here probably this next lap or two as well.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And for them, they just got to keep working together, and it looks like one more for both of them. So I think it's going to be the same thing coming to 38. It looks like those numbers staying right on top, but this is where they got to work together here. As you see Michael Spell in the background, he's hitting pit road. Unfortunately, he's already down a lap in the 88 machine. And yeah, that gap between Jim and AJ here, it's up to now about 3.7 seconds. So we're going to keep an eye on these guys here, Steve. I think this is going to be a crucial point once again for them, is to hit that pit road entry here in the 3. But making some fuel numbers here, Steve. Actually, again, they went 19 last time, so we're on 38 now. So a little further than they did before. They're actually able to, it looks like, making some fuel here. But this is going to get a little sketchy for them now. They're going to be in the thick of some traffic here. You're going to get some dirty air from Michael Spell there. And then they're not too far away from Luis in that 14 as well here. So it looks like they're going to clear Michael pretty easily, it looks like. But they do have to be careful about that dirty air from that number 14.
And I wonder whether, they're leapfrog, since one of them is always getting the draft, but they're changing back. Oh, Jim's pitting.
So this is big here. This is actually taking them off sequence with one another. So, yep, you're right. Jim's hitting pit road here. So, looks like a nice clean entry for him. So, Nick DeGroot, though, he's going to go an extra lap. So, now the question is, once they complete their pit stops, do they come out together after Nick makes his pit stop? So, this could be an opportunity where these guys break apart a little bit. So, yeah, this will be interesting. This is the first time, obviously, that they're going to be split up here towards the front for about 30 laps or so, it seems like, at the way this race has gone, though.
I'm really surprised, as well as those two have been working together, that they didn't have their pit stops coordinated.
Well, I think that's a strategy call for Nick here, is I think he wants to go further, because again, I think these guys are already looking at their final pit stop, Steve, and if they can shorten that pit stop a little bit, I think that's going to be all the better for them. So Nick DeGroot looks like nice and clean pit entry for him in that number 89 machine. Jim's already out back on track. So now it's going to switch back over to AJ Hobson at the point, as I believe Alec Coates, he's also hit pit road on that number 3 machine. And so yeah, right now it's going to be AJ Hobson, Jack Wall, Scott Rankin, Matt Wagner, and Anders Arhus, our top 5 currently. And we were talking about the 4 saving fuel earlier, Matt, but I'm going back just a few cars back here. Say we talked about Eric Schaus being Mr. Fuel Save. Jack Walls is notorious for being really good on fuel saving as well here. So, and he's just been right in the back of these guys for a good chunk of this run as well. He went 20 laps on fuel, one less than those guys up in front of him. However, he was leading a good portion of that race, so I'm not too certain that Jack might not be trying to do some big fuel saves as well in that number 83 car here. So we'll definitely want to keep an eye on that. But I'm going to jump back to that Jim Brooks and Jim Brooks and where did he go? Nick DeGroot here. There they are. And Nick does get the advantage through the pit stop cycle. He was about 0.6 of a second quicker overall through the overall pit time. But Jim is close enough here to grab his draft and get right back into it. So they will be able to work together once again here. Just they aren't quite lined up like they were earlier. But here comes AJ Hobson, Jack Walls. They're going to hit their scheduled pit stop here at 42, which is going to cycle the lead over to Scott Rankin in that number 156.
And I'm showing Scott Rankin, Matt Wagner, Anders Arhus. Let's see, Scott and Matt both pitted at lap 23 on my scoreboard, and Anders at lap 22, Eric Schaus lap 24.
Yeah, Eric by far went the furthest of everybody, so we'll have to see what he can do. As it looks like, yep, here comes Scott. He's going to dunk on in, and that's going to now cycle over to Matt Wagner into the point in that 6 car. Anders Arhus is in pit road with Scott as well. And then it's going to be Eric Schaus, the next car in line here that has yet to pit. So Matt's stretching it out this time around. He's following Charles Teed here. Again, Charles a little bit off sequence. And we mentioned for Eric, making great fuel mileage. However, like you mentioned earlier, Steve, he's showing over 7 seconds currently behind that 6 car of Matt Wagner. So while it's going to be a shorter pit stop for him towards the end of the race, the overall time loss is going to be pretty brutal for him to have to kind of take that hit.
I need to do some calculations here, because I'm starting to wonder if Eric Schaus can make it on one less pit stop.
That would be a very intriguing question. So as you can see right now, And I would think if he's on absolute full fuel save, he probably would have let that car behind him go here, which I believe is Joseph Morales in that 60. You would think he would just let him go and kind of continue to draft off of him, but it's a good question, Steve, because we're about to cross the halfway point here in just a lap or two, so we're about to start 45 of 90. And you might be right here, Steve, actually, because I think if he goes and pits here at halfway, basically just does one more pit stop, because again this would be his second, so you might be onto something. This might actually be in the window for him to make one less pit stop than the rest of these leaders, as he's going to pit here coming to 45 right now. You might be onto something here, Steve.
Try to do some advanced math.
Good luck. I'm not the one to help you on that one. So back up front though, Nick DeGroot and Jim Brooks, they have found one another, and they continue to work together here to continue that lead up front, as it's grown to now about 5 seconds over Luis Gonzalez, as he and AJ Hobson are right alongside each other again. So hopefully they've kind of figured things out to try to work together. And actually a great pit stop by Matt Wagner. He's jumped himself up into that 5th position here, so he made the most of his green flag pit stop, that in and out lap here. But man, AJ and Luis here, I feel like they're almost fighting each other more than working together, the way these guys are going at it right now.
Okay, we have the verdict. I've done my higher level math, and if you pit every 24 laps, you actually make it on you make it on 3 stops, and you actually still have 6 laps to spare. So if you pit every 23 laps, I think it's still only three stops. So it's very possible that these last 5 stragglers that we had out here are going to make it on one less stop, which is huge.
So I was saying that, and I was saying that's the case. Matt Wagner, he pitted at 43, so he'd be the first to watch here in that number 6 machine. So I think Matt's going to be one to watch. Of course, Eric Schaus as well, as he was able to go even a lap further than Matt. But again, the time distance though is right now it's definitely in Matt's favor, as he's only a few seconds off the front pack here by looks like about 5-6 seconds. Whereas Eric Schaus is about 13 seconds off our lead pack. So yeah, this could get very interesting. So what we're going to do though, Steve, is we've got some time here. Everybody's completed their pit stops, so let's run through the field here. Haven't really got to chat about everybody tonight. So obviously right now it's been the Nick and Jim show here. These guys working together, just stretching it out on these guys behind them, running 1 and 2 in the game, kind of based on where they are on track here, gaining a couple spots from where they qualified. And then back in 3rd is that 4 car of AJ Hobson. I think he and Luis Gonzalez have started to work together as well here, sitting in 3rd and 4th. And then right now, rounding out our top 5 is that number 6 machine of Matt Wagner, who qualified in 8th and is up into that top 5. And then behind them, Jack Walls, our pole sitter for tonight, and he's been trying to make some fuel numbers in that 83 cars. He's dropped a few spots, but again, I think still right in the thick of this battle here as well. And then you got Scott Rankin there in the 7th position here, right off the back of these guys. Again, I think Scott may be thinking fuel here as well, Steve. Looks like he's just kind of sitting on cruise control as well. And then go back to 8th position, off sequence, unfortunately. So Charles Teed, he's going to need a yellow to help his chances out tonight, but sits currently in the 8th position. And right behind him in 9th is that number 10 of Anders Arhus, starting on the outside of the front row. And then battling for 10th right here is that number 72 of Eric Schaus and Alec Coates. Again, Eric, the furthest of fuel than anybody, so can he run a little bit less fuel and maybe make one less pit stop? Could be very exciting to see what Eric's got under his sleeves here tonight as well. And then we mentioned Alec Coates there right now, just outside the top 10, just as that pass happened. However, +7 from his starting position. And then Jeff Heisong right behind them in the 12th spot. Started 11th, so just down 1 spot. And then Gary Corley a few seconds back here in 13th. Still on the lead lap, however, and that's going to be the all-important position, as this is to stay on that lead lap here tonight. And then Joseph Morales right now, our last car on the lead lap currently, sitting in the 14th position. And then for cars a lap or more down here, Steve, we've got the 36 of Eric Peterson, I believe, got busted speeding on pit road. That's what cost him that 40-second stop and hold. That's put him down a lap. I believe maybe a similar situation for Michael Spell in that number 88, who is just behind about 2 seconds. So again, that lucky dog battle, that could be a crucial thing as well, as they sit 15th and 16th. And unfortunately, things going worse for Thaddeus McMurray in that 37 car, 2 laps down. And we mentioned Craig Forsyth, just nothing going his way tonight. Sits 3 laps down in 18th position here, but still making laps because, again, he's going to be trying to get all the points he can to try to minimize the damage in his points lead here. And with that, we have made it through the field as we go back to our front runners, who have now stretched out to about 6.5 seconds, Steve.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to the fuel mileage stuff here. If Eric Schaus can run the second half of the race the way he did the first half, he definitely makes it on 3 stops. Matt Wagner is a lap off from what Eric Schaus did. He's going to have to really save a lot harder on these next 2 segments, but he can potentially do it. Scott Rankin is another lap earlier. He pitted a lap earlier than Matt Wagner did, so he's really got his work cut out for him. But I think if this thing stays green, we could very well see Matt Wagner win this race and Eric Schaus come in second.
Yes, and that's just going to then, again, depend on the pace difference of Jim and Nick, and of course also that final pit stop. It may not be a full-length pit stop for those two. Maybe they can short fill a little bit and run a quicker pit stop, but you're not wrong there in saying the thing for Matt here that's not going to be a bad thing for him is he's coming up to a pretty big group of cars here, and I say they're really kind of in the thick of it here with one another here. You've got the 83 of Jack Walls is there, AJ Hobson, Luis Gonzalez, and they're fighting pretty hard with one another here. So this could be an opportunity for Matt to just kind of tag onto the back of him, maybe see if he can turn down the fuel map a notch and just try to save off these guys. And then same thing for Eric Schaus here. He's also in a nice little pocket here as well with a lot of cars, so he has some opportunities as well to try to save some fuel should he need to. So yeah, I think the next question is going to be, Steve, is that next pit stop here, depending on when it happens, could be a very important portion of this race here.
All right, so now I'm going to ask you to do a little math because you've been keeping track a little bit of how long these guys' pit stops are. So how much time do you think it is from the time they get off the track, down pit road, into their stall, and get out?
Well, we can find out right now because Charles T, like as if on cue here, Steve, you can see the little ticker on the bottom here, and you can see right now it's showing his pit lane time. And then, of course, then you also are going to have the pit stop time added onto that as well here. So I believe it's roughly about 43, 44 seconds or so, or maybe 42 to 44 second range. As see Charles Heed here hits his pit stall for his scheduled stop. And again, so yeah, so right now the overall pit lane time, Steve, including the pit stop, looks like it's right around 42, 43 seconds. We'll get the exact number for Charles Teed this time by as he's coming out right now. And it looks like for him from cone to cone, it is 43.683 seconds. So about 43.5 seconds there for Charles. I say we can actually do one more calculation because here comes Luis Gonzalez as well in that number 14 car. Again, I say Luis definitely been on the aggressive side, on the fuel side of his car as well. So yeah, so it looks like in the 40-second range though, Steve.
Okay, so basically anybody who goes one less stop is going to save 40-something seconds, which means like Matt Wagner, who's only 8 seconds behind the leaders, should finish way ahead of them.
Yeah, this is going to be very interesting. Again, this is all pending things going green to the end, of course. I said we talked about the numbers, Steve, being roughly in about the 20s or so on fuel. So the next question, let's say Jim Brooks, Nick DeGroot, they pitted at 38 and 39 respectively. So suspect to see them probably in here around lap number 60 to 61 or so, I believe, just based on what they were doing before. And yeah, then the question is going to be, like I said, I think Matt Wagner and Eric Schaus, I think those are going to be the big question marks here. And again, the other final question is the two, Jim and Nick DeGroot here, they might start to realize, hey, these guys are pitting way later than us. We might need to, and that may be the opportunity. Again, you short pit once you're in your window, but like I said, this time you work together. Just take that little splash of fuel you need. Again, maybe that drops a 40-second pit stop down to 30, 35. And then again, have to try to bring that gap back together as Nick gets a little loose there off of the tunnel turn. So yeah, this could get interesting. There might be some fuel mileage trickery from some of these boys here tonight.
I know one thing. If I'm Matt or Eric Schaus, I'm sitting there wishing that this thing goes green.
Yes, and if you're Eric, you're in a tough spot because you know that Matt's ahead of you on track. You know you have a lap on him on fuel, but you know he's got a couple of seconds on you as well. And Matt's down to about 9 seconds off the lead. Eric Schaus about 13 to 14 seconds off the lead. But you're right though, Steve. Matt looks awful content here just to cruise behind that number 36 here of Eric Peterson. So, and you can see now just touching into 6th gear. So you might be, you might be doing some good fuel mileage, some good crew chiefing here for these boys. As here comes Jim Brooks though. He's going to come in once again a lap earlier than Nick DeGroot, at least a lap earlier, coming at lap number 59. As we know, this will not be Jim's final stop. He's going to have to pit one more time here.
Yep, and we should see Nick DeGroot probably next lap.
Yeah, it just depends if Nick's been able to save maybe a little bit better than that number 51. But I say based on last time, he was able to go just that one lap further. So we'll see if that continues that trend and he comes in here coming to lap number 60, or is he able to maybe even hit it to 61? So, but yeah, this is gonna get pretty interesting here, and we'll look. And yeah, looks like Nick's mowing it down. So yeah, here comes Nick. He's gonna hit that pit road as well. Like I said, just one lap off, as Jim's already down and away. That's going to bring things over to, AJ Hobson, but this Jack Wall's up into the wall, but I believe he's going to wreck into the pits, so we will stay green, but that could have completely changed the complexion of that race, Steve. And so you can see Jack, he's going to get that car looped around and limp it to the pits here, as Alec Coates also hits pit road as well. So for Jack here, it's going to hurt him a little bit. It's going to hurt worse because he's trying to get that car hustled back to the front, but it's just too damaged to drive straight. So yeah, so we're going to switch back over to our current race leader here now, AJ Hobson. But I think, like you said, Steve, we're going to have to really keep a close eye on that number 6 of Matt Wagner. Again, last pitted at 43, and we're at lap number 60 now, so we think he should at least get to 63, but I think, again, ideally he needs to go a little further still.
Nick DeGroot just came out of the pits, and it looks like Jim Brooks got him this time.
Yeah, you're right. Looks like Jim's got the lead over Nick DeGroot here. And looking at the pit stop time, it looks like Jim just got in and out quicker. It's actually a quicker pit stop for Nick DeGroot, but a little bit faster for Jim overall. 43.07 pit lane time versus 44.25 for Nick DeGroot. So I'll say Jim getting the job done there. But again, this in the big picture of things, it might be for a 3rd place possibly position instead of for the win here tonight. So again, they still have one more pit stop to go. And you mentioned, Steve, look at the gaps between them. So while they just came out of pit road here, they're 27 seconds off the lead of this race, which is right now in Matt Wagner's possession. And that's what you talked about, Steve. That's that one lap of difference here, or sorry, that one pit stop of difference. I mean, that's a huge swing right now of these guys, and you know that's going to leave a sour taste in the mouths of that 59 and 81 here, 89.
Absolutely, and it's a very helpless feeling for the two of them right now. Because I imagine that they've probably looked at their relative, or whatever they have to keep track of what other drivers are doing, and have noticed that Matt is going to go, Matt and Eric, and make it on one less pit stop.
So here's something that kind of makes me wonder now, though, once again, though, here, Steve, is Eric Schaus, actually. He just pitted at lap number 60, so he's hit pit road here. We thought of anybody, he could go the furthest. So right now it's really the next person in line here who ran the most on fuel is Matt Wagner. So at this point, I'd say Eric is out of the running, unfortunately, for trying to be in that position at 72. Not sure if there's something that forced his hand to pit, or just decided, hey, you know what, I just got to do something different. My idea wasn't going to work. So now I think we got to keep a very, very close eye on this number 6 car, Matt Wagner. Again, pitted at laps 43. We're coming to 63 now, crossing to 64. So this is 21 laps. But again, I think he's going to need to go in almost mid-20s if he can to try to make this number happen.
I'm really surprised that Eric did that.
So I'm going to go back and see if I can see anything that stood out for me for Eric Schaus's pit stop. Because it happened right as Jim and Nick passed him. So let's go back. Actually, no, he had already pitted there. Let me go back a little further here. Yeah, so they already show him in pit road. I don't see any obvious damage to that car, so yeah, it might just been a scheduled stop here. But yeah, very, very surprised about that. So we'll jump back live here though to keep an eye on things, because again, Matt Wagner still staying out here. Steven, this is important though for him. Like I said, we're on 65 now. So if he can go to 66, 67, I think this could be a winning move for this race here.
Yeah, I think absolutely.
And I mean, he's been pretty much just tagging on to anybody and everybody he could here. Right now, he's got, I believe that's the 3 of Alec Coates. And he is going at least one more lap here, Steve. That's going to bring him to 66 here. Next time around, it's going to be 67. And you see, just switched over to 25 laps to go here, Steve. I think this is right in that window here where I believe possibly next time by he could make something happen. Scott Rankin, that's all he could do. He's hitting pit road here. And once Matt pits, that will complete our pit stop cycle, I believe. So this, like I said, this could be very big between this number 6 car and that 51 and the 89.
And I haven't seen Matt key up to say he's pitting yet. Oh, here he goes.
All right, so now the important thing is he's got to get a clean entry here. And he's actually, this is even better here for him, Steve. He's going to have Eric Peterson right in front of him. So if he can come out right along with that 36 car, he can just start saving fuel right off the bat here. So basically, there's no strategy here, Steve. He's just got to go 24 more laps on fuel, and he could try to jump that 51 and the 89 here and try to snag a win from these guys on the fuel mileage side of things. So we'll see, because as he hits pit road, Jim and Nick have just come through the start-finish line. They're going to take the lead back over here. But again, this is the big picture, though. Say it's going to be all to play for, as Matt's just now rolling out of pit road, and like I said, right behind that 36 of Eric Peterson. So this will be a tough spot for Matt, though. He's going to have to hustle a little bit here, Steve. He's got to make sure he stays on the draft to these guys up in front of him. Looks like he's already got it done. So I think that's job number 1, is to make sure you don't lose this draft during the pit stop cycle, which I'd say I think he's pretty solidly behind Eric Peterson there. As AJ Hobson and Luis Gonzalez, they've been just lockstep with one another pretty much since that first pit stop here. So yeah, so now it's going to be just basically, can Matt run 24, almost 23 now laps on fuel? And right now the gap between himself and the leaders too, it's not bad here, Steve. It's at 8 seconds. So like I said, but now here's the question mark here for Jim and Nick here. I think they gotta pit once that window's open. They know they can make it. Maybe it's 20 to go, maybe it's 19 to go. I think you jump in. I think you take the minimum fuel you need, and then you go for it. Because I think it's gonna be, well, actually, you know what? I might actually devil's advocate myself here, Steve. These cars like to be light, so maybe they actually opt to go and run this thing as light as possible and then put the bare minimum to make it to the end. I do not think you want to take tires, though, on your final pit stop here. Oh, it's not going to matter, Steve. We got a caution out, and that is going to change everything. And it looks like, I believe it may have been Michael Spell, and that is going to change everything here, but still could be a good thing for Matt Wagner, because I believe he could probably stay out here, Steve. Let's see what happened to Michael here.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah, he definitely could stay out here.
It looks like Michael just gets too high through the tunnel turn, and unfortunately just comes straight down onto the inside wall there and just gives it a huge hit. And then, I mean, it said, I was looking at the info, and it said he tried to tow as quick as he possibly could, but just by the time he was able to do so, you can see the cars already coming by him at speed, and so iRacing throws the yellow there. So unfortunate to say, so that's going to put us down on our first yellow of tonight, and that's going to put everybody right back into the thick of this, because right now we're going to have 13 cars still on the lead lap here, Steve. And I believe it's going to be the 36 of Eric Peterson who's going to get the wave round to get back on the lead lap here. And then say Jack Wells maybe opportunity to try to see if he can maybe try to get a wave round if everybody in front of him pits. But like I said, I think this is an opportunity for Matt Wagner. I think you stay out here if you know you have the fuel to make it to the end. But that's going to be tight. Actually, that might be tight in itself, Steve, because now he's got to go full aggressive. But
Right.
what he could do here, though, is I think for Jim and Nick, they've been going for about 10 laps here. I think they're going to want tires. Matt just pitted there at lap 66. I think Matt maybe just take the minimum, basically just take whatever fuel you need to top off the tank and then come right back out and probably jump you up to the front here.
Yeah, I'm thinking that's probably the thing to do. I mean, you know, if he's too close on fuel, he can't be in a position where he needs to save. He's got to be able to run full rich all the way to the end now.
Yep, exactly right. So, and I mean, that's what's going to tell us right now is what if he was able to or not. And it looks like at the moment, looks like he is going to come in. So, yep, it's going to be Nick DeGroot leading the field onto pit road. And so, actually, surprisingly here, Steve, Jack Walls hits pit road as well. If I was Jack there, I would have stayed out to get back on the lead lap and just hope for that yellow. Because, again, you can pit here without losing a lap. So, unfortunately, I think that may be a missed opportunity there by that number 83 car. However, Eric Peterson does indeed get the lucky dog, so he's back on the lead lap. Now it's going to be that all-important race through the pits. And, yep, here goes Matt. Look at that already, Steve. Fuel only for that number 6 car, and he is going to cycle into the lead here. And actually, though, a big strategy call, Scott Rankin stays out here, Steve.
You made I believe you made a great call there as crew chief on what Matt should do.
I think it is a good way for him to go to get that track position. I mean, he probably would have come out at least in 5th or 6th regardless, behind around AJ and Luis. But I think, again, the way this race has been going, I think you're going to want to have as much track position as you can. And now you've got your teammate here to work with. Maybe Scott and Matt can, again, maybe time that restart, count it down, and then from there, you just try to leapfrog with one another. Say it's going to be tough for Scott again because I'm skeptical about him on fuel. He pitted a lap earlier than Matt Wagner, so I'm a little nervous about Scott's fuel mileage here to make it to the end. But he's a pretty quick learner with these cars, so I'm thinking he's probably pretty confident about his fuel numbers here.
I personally don't think he can make it unless he gets behind Matt and just drafts.
Yeah, it's, well, and the other question to him, he might be thinking, hey, you know what? We're good to go to the end. Everybody's going to start to get more aggressive here. I'm going to get more cautions. So, and that could be the other mindset. And that's always a very legitimate opportunity for these cautions. Do breed cautions, unfortunately, especially when you get to that closing section of the race where you know it's pretty much, there's no more pit stops. It's just everybody's out for the win here. It really changes the way people drive. So I think we're going to see a lot more aggression and, again, a lot more opportunities for guys to probably, unfortunately, get some dirty air and may, unfortunately, get some contact with one another or the wall. However, saw one car swinging back around here. That was the 37 Thaddeus McMurray. He's going to go from 2 down to 1 down in that number 37 car. Again, I think that's a great strategy for him because now it's just going to be him and Jack Walls here trying to be that lucky dog position should we get another yellow.
And I think you are 100% right that Jack Walls should have stayed out and taken the wave around.
Yeah, and it's something, I mean, it's from watching a lot of racing. I mean, we see it even on the stock car side of things when you would get those certain timely yellows, drivers would stay out, they would take the wave around, get back on the lead lap, and then coming back to green, they would hit pit road. That way they had the fresh tires, but they knew they'd still be on the lead lap. So it's a gamble either way. But yeah, I do think that would have been the best bet for Jack there was to go ahead and get the wave around, get back on the lead lap. But unfortunately, it didn't work for him this time. Hopefully he's able to make something happen. Although I'm a little nervous about Thaddeus McMurray here. He actually just went and hopped into pit road here. That usually is going to be a closed pit stall, so I think he may get a stop and hold penalty, which might have just lost him that lap that he had gained there. So we'll see if we see an unscheduled stop from that 37 car, and if so, that's most likely why, unfortunately.
Although he could still probably get in the pit, and is that a pass-through, or does he have to?
I think it's a stop and hold, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see. I say if we see him hit pit road, we'll know exactly why. The other problem is he's just entering the tunnel turn as the pace car is coming through turn number 3 right now. But we're going to hop on the back of Scott Rankin, and I think you're going to see the 6 and the 156 probably take off pretty nicely together. Actually, no, Scott gets a nice little jump on Matt there. Maybe didn't count it down like I thought they might. as they head back into turn one here, Steve. 18 laps to go.
And there goes Matt.
Yeah, Matt wasting no time. He's going to swing to the inside. And so, yeah, so right now, you see again, Jim gets very tight off of turn number one. And look at Matt straight to the apron here, just going to try to protect every bit he can. And it looks like he's going to hold on to the lead for the moment through that tunnel turn. So you look a little further back here, Jim Brooks. Oh, he got the 10 in the wall, big in the wall. He's coming back up across the track. Oh, Joseph Morales had nowhere to go. He's up and over. And that's going to bring that yellow right back out, like we mentioned, Steve. As you see, it looks like I think Thaddeus McMurray trying to dodge the wreckage there, unfortunately. So we'll put us back under yellow. But let's see what happened here to Anders to bring out this yellow. Like I said, I think just everybody was going for everything they could here. Jump over to that 10 car. So you can see.
And that's why Jack Wallace should have taken the waiver run. Because just like you said, we're near the end of the race. People are going to be more aggressive. It's more likely we're going to have yellows.
Yeah, and unfortunately just got tight. There was behind too many cars there. And then unfortunately for Joseph Morales, you can see he's got a car to his outside, so he couldn't really go up any higher. And then when he finally was able to try to, it was just too late. And unfortunately, you see it just goes for right here up and over there in that number 60 machine. So tough way for these guys to have the late race incidents here. So I think it still will wind up working out, though, for Jack, because it will put him back on the lead lap in that number 83 car. But yeah, it would have been nice to have done that lap ago. But we talked about the cautions, though, maybe benefiting some drivers. Scott Rankin, he's going to save a lot more fuel here, Steve. And I think the angriest driver in the field right now is going to be that 51, though. Jim Brooks was pretty much just living in the 1-2 range with Nick DeGroot there that whole race. Now finds himself all the way back to that 6th position here.
Yeah, that's pretty painful. Although it's still, 6 is not bad.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, man, if not for this, then this, and you know how competitive everybody is here. So, however, as you can see, though, not a lot of strategy up front here. So we're going to take advantage of this and take a quick break here, and we'll come back and take a quick little break and come back with the 1 to go. And so we'll keep an eye on Jack Walls and make sure he gets that wave around. So stay with us. We'll be back here in just a bit. All right, as you can see, lights are off of the pace car. So, Steve, we're going to restart this thing with 14 to go. I'll say, unfortunately, that first yellow quickly succeeded by that second one. So, but the thing is, again, I don't think it changes too many people's mindsets here. I think they're still going to have to be aggressive. Do need to mention, though, Anders Arhus and Joseph Morales, they're still in the thick of this thing here, Steve. They're both one down. But again, the other driver one down is Thaddeus McMurray. But I'm still not sure, may have a pit penalty, not 100% sure on that one though. However, if we do get a yellow, it's going to be between those three drivers, and they're lined up line astern here. So that's going to be kind of a race within the race. But up front though, that I'll say, well, hopefully we'll get a chance to talk to Matt in a top 3 interview, because I know we both probably want to ask him about that fuel mileage. Had it stayed green, was he good to kind of kill one stop to the leaders there? Because I think that's going to be probably the question on, at least for me, probably the biggest one on my mind here.
And the biggest question right now is, can he hold off Nick de Groot with slightly older tires? He may actually have a lighter car though.
Yeah, that'll be a good question here. So we're gonna see. So we got 14 laps to do it here, but again, I mean, I think it's gonna change a bunch here. I think it's gonna get even more dicey. As you see, everybody's starting to move around a little bit. You got to be careful about that accordion effect as we go back to green, as Matt Wagner leads the field back into turn number 1. You see everybody right away fanning out. Look at that 4-car. Big move there on Scott Rankin. He's going to go to the outside here. There goes Nick de Groot. He's going to try to swing the inside, almost 3 wide for a second there through the tunnel turn. Yeah, these guys, oh, I think this time Jim does make contact with that outside wall in that 51 car, so we'll have to keep an eye and see if he's able to hold pace with those guys. But right now it's Nick de Groot, Matt Wagner leading the way here.
Okay, so I think this is going to be really telling whether Matt Wagner is able to get a run on Nick de Groot or not.
Oh, it's tied off of turn number 1 for the 156 and the 14 and the 4. Say once again, the 4 and the 14, they're locked back onto each other here as well. As you see, Eric Schaus, he's starting to make some gains as well. He's moved himself into the top 6 position there, just ahead of Jim Brooks. But yeah, here comes Nick and Matt here. And there goes Matt. He's going to send it.
Matt, yep.
However, though, Nick's going to hold strong in that outside line. The momentum is going to probably propel Nick just for the moment back to the front here. But we still got 12 laps to go.
Okay, so we know that Matt's able to get a run. He's not going to be able to. Well, maybe.
I think, yeah, I was going to say, I think he can barely complete the pass. There goes Nick, going to do the crossover off the back. As they go through here, through the, was it Long Pond, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, right now, though, I think they're also not playing as nice with that leapfrog like we saw Jim and Matt doing earlier here. So, but the thing is, I mean, I wouldn't count Scott out here either. You can see he's just kind of lurking right now. But I think he can, if he can try to time a move, if they start playing with each other too much, that can be Scott's opportunity here. And also, you know, these guys are going to start trying to time their runs to be, okay, when can I get to the line first? And unfortunately, it looks like Charles Teed had an incident. He's had to tow back to the pits. Unfortunately, that's going to be night over for him in that number 50. But we do stay green here, so we're back to 11 to go.
Okay, Matt was able to do the pass the right way that time. If we were coming to the checkers, he would have won that race.
So saying that, and that's is I think it's gonna be the question. But you know that these guys, I mean, they're just too good for their own sakes, and you know, at some point Nick's gonna do something a little different. It just really depends on who's gonna be in front of the other at the right time. But you know, someone's gonna do something different if they can get to those closing laps. But the thing is, they can't just sit and ride though, Steve, because if there's a late yellow again, and as I say that, if there's a late yellow, and we've got one. And I think it might, yep, it's AJ Hobson, unfortunately, here in that number 4. And that is some pretty significant damage to that car here. And I do think Jim Brooks had some damage because he had just been kind of cruising back and back, unfortunately. But let's go back to see what happened to AJ here. As it looks like it's contact entering turn number 1. And I think these guys may have been fighting for some real estate that they were all a part of.
That's net code.
That's a lot of net code, unfortunately. Yeah, I was thinking initially there maybe be kind of a 3-1 there, but yeah, it's a big hit there for AJ there. So unfortunately, that's going to put him probably out of contention, as he's had to take a tow to pit road in that number 4. And then we talked about the fight, though, for that lucky dog position. I believe it's going to be Thaddeus McMurray that's going to wind up being on the top end of the stick there, because right now showing him the first car one down. And yeah, didn't mention, I think that we talked about that shot that Jim Brooks had off of that tunnel turn wall. I think it was enough, because you can see he is at the very back of the field here. So I think we're going to see that 51 probably come in here, get that fast repair, probably throw some tires on it for good measure. And I think at that point he's just going to, I mean, either try to keep that car clean to the end, or it might just be one of those things, okay, time to go for broke.
It's definitely a shame because, you know, like you were saying, he was up front battling 1-2 for a good part of this race, and just see him have that kind of bad luck.
And that, I mean, and that's the thing, is we talk about these races where it's a little bit of everything. I mean, of course you have to have the right speed, the right strategy, but then you have to have the luck go your way. And unfortunately, just the luck has not gone his way now towards the latter half of this race. But at the same time, too, strategy. I mean, we don't know for sure. Had that thing gone green to the end, Matt Wagner may have been able to snooker Nick and Jim there. And I think we're going to see a little bit of some gamesmanship here once more, where drivers are going to kind of play kind of chicken here, like who's going to pit, who's not. And it's going to be pretty much nobody's going to pit. But like I said, I had a feeling Jim Brooks was coming in. So again, I think he's got some damage to that car. So, and then mentioned for the lucky dog position, I think we're going to see Thaddeus McMurray swing on by these guys and get himself back onto the lead lap. Unfortunately, not the break that Anders and Joseph were looking for. But yeah, so that's going to put that 37 car back on the lead lap. But however, he's got some traffic to deal with here first.
Okay, and there is no green-white checkered in this series, so...
Correct.
We've got about 4 laps for these guys to really sort things out before they have to worry about a yellow ending the race.
Yeah, and, say with this being Pocono, they say it is shorter yellow, so they do have that going for them. However, the concern is, yeah, I think once you get to, I think it's either 3 or 4 to go. At that point, this race would finish under yellow. So, and that's what I was about to mention before that caution did come out. Was a late yellow could really unravel some strategies, because again, you can't just sit and wait and try to make that last lap move, because that last lap move could be 3 to go. You don't know if the late caution comes out. If you're just sitting there and riding, you may have lost your opportunity. So I think we're going to see a lot of aggression still out of Nick and Matt and Scott and Luis, and now Eric as well, back into the top 5. I think they're just it's gonna be basically every lap you're gonna have to do anything and everything you can to try to gain some positions here and have a chance at that win here tonight.
Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see also, and I really think this is going to come down to Matt versus Nick. I mean, Scott is definitely very fast. I think that he probably, I don't know. I mean, I know that, you know, we're all racers and we all want to win, but it wouldn't be surprising to me if Scott was sitting there thinking, I've messed up a couple of match races this year, and I'm not going to mess this one up.
Well, I mean, we've seen in some of the other series on the super speedway stuff where basically a win for one of the teammates is a win for all. So there's a good chance you might see some of that selflessness once again. The problem is, though, is just what he can do to help Matt over Nick, because again, it's not like Scott can just push that 6 car. So I say it's gonna be a tough position for Scott to be in. The only thing, like you said, Steve, that he could do is maybe just position his car in such a way where he doesn't. It allows Matt to be able to make a move on Nick DeGroot towards the closing portion of this race, but that then also opens him up to attack from Luis and Eric and company behind, and he's still got to think about the big picture on points, because he's right in the thick of this with Nick DeGroot. Say Craig Forsyth, he's had a tough night here. He's just trying to stick it out here. He has gained some spots with attrition up to 15th here. But yeah, so I mean, I think he's also going to be thinking points, though, where he just does not want to lose too much to that number 89 as well.
Yep. A lot of strategy, a lot of thinking going on these last few laps.
Yeah, I say, knowing Matt, knowing Scott, though, I think it's going to be like one of those where it's like, okay, hey, let's do whatever we can to try to win this race. Just let's not hurt each other. Let's not slow each other up or cost each other a chance to win this race. So to me, I think that's probably kind of job number one, where you can still race your teammate. You just don't want to risk getting caught up in an incident with them. So, but we'll see here. But the thing is, last time it was Matt leading the way. Now it's going to be Nick that's going to have control of this restart here. So again, he's got the option here, see if he can go as early or as late should he choose to, based on the pace car. But again, this is a pretty quick green flag from when the pace car leaves that racing surface. So Nick doesn't have a lot of wiggle room for when to go. As you can see, gets a pretty good jump here. But we're going to see Matt use that draft to his advantage here as they head right back into turn number one.
But we know from the last restart it won't take Matt too long to close in.
Yep, and you currently see them starting to try to get that clean air, then get that cut under. You can see the arrow push they get, but here comes Matt. He's going to have the run down the tunnel turn, or into the tunnel turn, I should say. As you see the 156 on the inside, there's Luis Gonzalez. You mentioned him. I'd say he wasn't going to be one to ride either, as he's trying to work over Scott Rankin, but right now it still stays with these three up front.
And it looks like the tunnel turn is at least the one turn on the track where being on the inside is the advantage.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Look at Matt here. He's going as low as he can. So now what does he do with Nick? Nick's going to cut even lower. So now you talked about the inside versus outside advantage. Does the outside have the momentum that Matt's going to want here? It's not going to matter. Nick's going to have the momentum. He's going to clear him through turn one. But can Matt respond here back down the back?
Nick drove it in there really hard.
Yeah, and looks like Matt's going to clear him entering that tunnel turn here once again. I say this is where Scott could come into play here. If he can start to put himself in a position where Nick can't attack, that's going to be Scott's best advantage here, as we're at 5 to go, coming to 4 to go at the line. But look at this time around, Matt's going to go high, Nick's going to go higher, and then they cut straight down to the inside line. Again, then once again, Nick going straight to the bottom here. We got 4 to go.
Well, this is, a lot of testing, a lot of feeling each other out, a lot of trying to figure out where you want to make that pass, so that you're able to be the first guy to that line. And Matt discovered that if he passes in the tunnel turn, and Nick blocked that one, he could definitely hold the lead all the way to the start-finish line. Matt's going to have to try and make the pass off of turn 3 here.
Yeah, so right now Scott Rankin's definitely got the best view of this fight right now, as they come off of turn number 3. Head once again through the start-finish line. Nick's going to drive all the way down to the apron. Matt's going to jump to the outside. We got 3 to go here. I say Matt's going to try to clear him through turn number 1. And at the moment, it's still Nick a nose ahead. So Nick's able to use this bottom line right now, is using it to his advantage. As right now, he's going to protect that low line, it looks like, for all he's worth here, Steve.
If Matt can make the outside work on the tunnel turn, he can still do this. Ooh. This is going to be something going through turn 3.
Yeah, that was a good tunnel turn. They were right side by side here. Again, Nick's got the shorter distance around, but I think Matt's going to have some momentum off of 3. And they're going to cross the line here. We still got 2 more to go. And I say if that was the line, that would have been Nick's victory there. So Matt's going to have to find something to get just a little bit more track position over that number 89 here. But again, same time too, if there's a yellow, this thing will finish under caution. So they can't just rest and try to make that big last lap move here, as once again the 6 is going to try to work that outside of the 89.
So close.
I say they stay once again side by side here as they enter 3. It's kind of looks like same story, different lap here. As now, say they just got to get through turn number 3, and then we will get that white flag. And now at this point, it's whoever gets to that checkered first. And right now, Matt's got just a nose ahead, but again, not enough to clear that 89 car, as they're going to come through turn number 1 for the final time.
And Nick is protecting the inside as he's done the last 3 laps.
I think it's the right call. It seems like Matt has not been able to clear him, so Matt's going to have to try something different here if he's going to have a chance to win, where if he could cut underneath that 89 car. But you can see Nick is giving him no chance here. Matt's only option is going to be probably to have to try to squeeze that 89 car out of 3. He's going to try to get a late lunge off of the turn here, jump to the outside. There's going to be a drag race to the line. Nick DeGroot going to get the win here. This is where Matt wished that start-finish line is a little later on. But it's going to be Nick DeGroot getting the win over Matt Wagner. Looks like Scott Rankin just able to hold off Jeff Hysong there for third. For third. And then Luis Gonzalez going to finish in fifth. And then Eric Schaus brings it home in that sixth position, the number 72 car.
That's exciting.
That was a great race, and we weren't sure what was going to be the right move, inside, outside, and protecting that bottom line. Nick was able to just keep that momentum enough to get the win here tonight. So while we watch that number 89 here, we'll watch him celebrate. We're going to pull up our final results. As it's Nick DeGroot over Matt Wagner by just 25 thousandths of a second. Scott Rankin there in third position there, just half a second on out. And then mentioned Jeff Hysong, Luis Gonzalez, Eric Schaus, Alec Coates, Jim Brooks, Thaddeus McMurray, Jack Walls, Gary Corley, Joseph Morales, Anders Arhus, Eric Peterson, Craig Forsyth, AJ Hobson, Charles Teed, and Michael Spell. And then in 19th position is Joseph DeCiro unfortunately, in that number 19 machine. All right, so as we're watching that number 89 burn that thing down here, I think he's going to try to make sure there's nothing left of that engine as he celebrates here. I mean, that's an amazing finish between those two. They fought as hard as they could, just wasn't quite enough for Matt here. As Nick does a nice little slide there through the start-finish line backwards to celebrate that win once again. So while we watch him celebrate, we're going to jump over to probably one of the guys who had the best seat in the house for that finish. And that was that number 156 of Scott Rankin. All right, Steve. So we're going to pull Scott on in here. We're going to kick things off with him. All right, Scott. I feel like you probably had the best seat in the house for those last couple laps on that restart there. But you were one that stayed out under that yellow there. I should say the first of yellows at the end there, where Matt went ahead and pitted there, despite him pitting that one lap later than you. Were you feeling like you were good to go on fuel? Had it gone green to the end, or were you just banking on more yellows to kind of get you to that fuel number you're looking for?
I'm going to be honest. I think there's two things to play here. Track position at the time when that caution come out was very, very poor. And I was on that compromising strategy to make it. I was good on fuel. I would have had to do some excessive saving, but it would have popped me out probably in the top three. And the furthest back on that strategy that I ever would have finished was third. So that's the strategy that I was committed to. And then the cautions came out, and I had to save just that little bit of extra fuel, just that little bit to get home under the caution periods. And then that second one come out, and I was gold. And look, I'm going to be honest. I really think I screwed the strategy up tonight. I think I should have pit, even with the compromised track position. With the tires underneath me, if you have a look at the whole race all night long, I was one of the guys who was quite easily and quite comfortably able to make the moves in the packs. And that was the story of my night was, I knew I was fast. It was just when do I show it? When's the right time to show it? And I think this week I made the mistake. And I'm going to be perfectly honest. If I have fresh tires fighting Matt Wagner and Nick DeGroot there at the end, I honest to God, believe I win the race. And that's the strategy that's cost me. But that's a learning experience, man. You're up here and you're in the middle of fields with such high experience, such high pedigree, such high skill, talent, understanding of the strategy. And I'm a rookie to this, So I'll take a P3 out of that and say, hey, I got something to learn the next time I'm out here. And I love this track. Pocono is my best track on iRacing, hands down, period, forever. So look, I'm a little frustrated with myself to actually throwing it away with tires there. So it is what it is.
And you definitely had your work cut out for you with those older tires. I hadn't even thought about that, but yeah, you must have been 20 laps older tires, maybe
10. It was only 5 laps. It was only 5 laps older tires, but 5 laps. It doesn't make an impact at the start of the run. And if you have a look at where I was running in the packs most of the night, it was mid to late that I was making my moves because I was just looking after the tires a little bit nicer than the other guys as well. But that's also because I was fuel saving, and then I'd sort of pick, I've got to go at this lap, frustrated. talking to Matt Wagner after it, and he said, "No, man, you should have sent it 3 wide on us there because you had the momentum. You would have surged through, and you probably would have been able to overtake Nick. You overtake Nick there, and the podium gets all jumbled up. So that's also a learning experience as well. You know, I'm sitting in there, I'm working with somebody who I consider a teammate." And I don't want to take him out of the race. I don't want to make a mistake and send it 3 wide too aggressively, too early. So you know, there's so much to learn from tonight, and really, really proud of the way that we put the 156 on the podium. But it's even with the podium, it's what could have been.
Yeah, I hear you, but I respect that. I mean, you know, you and Matt work very well together, and you know, that's a big consideration. Plus, he's the master, right? And you're the apprentice.
No. He's the nerd, and I'm the nerd in training.
The nerdlet.
Yeah, the nerdlet. There you go. The nerd and the nerdlet. Done.
But yeah, so it's never too bad of a night when you're not happy with a third place finish. So I was saying, like you said, I mean, big picture wise too, it's a really good points night for you as well. So say again, the full season points, you and Nick right in the thick of things, and say with Craig having a tough night for him, jumps you guys right back into the mix there as well on the points battle. So you got to find those little silver linings, I feel like.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, but that's a night where I've effectively had the option to take the championship lead right there, and I've lost it. And I mean, we obviously in Area 51 we run with the drop round system as well. So now Craig, Nick, and I all have one horrific round. Mine was last week. Nick's was I think the first round of the season, and Craig's is tonight. So when we pop out at the other side of that with all the math applied after that, I think it's going to be very close. I think it's going to be a couple points, because the other thing is we've all run 2 races now. We've all got multiple podiums as well, so I've got two wins and a podium. I think Nick actually has a few more podiums, so I think Nick's actually doing a little bit better, maybe potentially. But he also has the downside of I think he's actually had 2 races where things have gone wrong. So the point scenario, it's so interesting and it's so complicated that right now, honestly, we kind of can't really do the math. It's going to be Nick and I first and second on outright points before you apply drop rounds, and then Craig after tonight I think will drop back. But I'm in the hunt. Look at the 3 names that I'm hunting for a championship with, and I am far and away the junior of these guys. So again, you know, disappointed maybe with the podium where it could have been a win, but at the same time, like I never expected this early into my IndyCar practice, and this is important because I'm teaching a couple of Australian leagues how to race IndyCars on the ovals a lot better. So that racing's starting to become tighter and tighter. So I need this sort of practice, and I need this sort of mental training and mental coaching. And you know, whenever you get into a car and the race is as tight as that, that is a win for driver development. So that's the takeaway here.
Yeah, it was a really good race, a great result for you. Like I said, kind of a little bit of everything. Like I said, the fuel mileage initially, and then of course having to make the outright sprint to the finish there at the end to still grab the podium. A great result for you here, Scott. So definitely, though, we want to give you the floor for thanks and shouts you'd like to give for that podium spot.
Yeah, I want to say firstly a big shout out to Jack Walls. That guy was on track for what was going to be one of his best ever finishes in an IndyCar, and it just didn't go his way tonight. He deserves a win. His qualifying lap was absolutely superb. The way he drove the car, the way he was aggressive when he needed to be aggressive as well. Unfortunately, just got fractionally too aggressive at one point in time at the weight jack by the look of things, so that's unfortunate for him. But Matt, Jeff Highsong and I were all sitting in Discord discussing how disappointed we were for him because we felt flat. We didn't want to see that happen. So number 2, to league admins, to you guys as broadcasters, to all the drivers that are in the league. Luis Nunez, guy that's only joined the IR18 league last week, and he's right up there. He's in the thick of things, and he's creating some great racing, great fighting as well. It's been an honor to race alongside him. I want to say a big shout out. I'll start with my personal sponsors, Flat Out Racing Network. Can't do what I do without them. They are so critical. They get me in. They teach me oval racing mindsets and strategies more for stock cars, but there's so much that can be applied to the IndyCar. 24/7 Race Control. They've just moved me up to their head race controller and their race control trainer. So it's an honor to work for those guys. They're allowing me to earn an income from iRacing stuff and also apply all the knowledge and experience that I have within both road courses and oval racing to improving other drivers and keeping the racing clean on track. I can't say a big enough thank you to the guys over at simrigs.com. My rig and my driving has come improved out of sight with all thanks to the discounts and hardware that they've been able to pick up to me. And if you're looking at a Sim Magic wheel, I would strongly recommend that you pick one up because it has helped a lot. And then to the all of the guys who participated in Bathurst 12-hour with me over the weekend, those guys keep pushing me harder and harder every week. That may be road course, maybe GT3 cars, but it still is practice for here. And then the big sponsors for the go. What are we? Indie Autosports. I've got so much going through my head at the moment. We can't say Simcoin. Simcoin do a great job with their sponsoring. If you're looking for a Bitcoin for sim races, Simcoin is the way to go. And finally, a big shout out to Martin Sports Apparel, hoping to try and get some new racing gloves out of those guys in the near future. They do a huge job supporting us. I believe they actually did some of the merch for the Clash at the Coliseum, actually. So I believe they're involved with that. So if you're looking to check them out, 100% Martin Sports Apparel is the way to go.
Awesome, yeah. It's tough, and yeah, so you're gonna have a little cheat sheet for you in the future, especially if you keep up the results you've been having. So, awesome job though tonight, Scott. Like you said, not the result you wanted, but still a great result nonetheless, getting that top 3 tonight. So, just enjoy this one, and yeah, definitely look forward to seeing you go after these guys again next week.
And look, I say disappointment. It's like what could have been, but at the same time, like it was just a cracking race right the way through. It was so good. Like the green flag race tonight was amazing. I had so much fun racing. So looking forward to more of it next week.
Sounds good, sir. Yeah, enjoy this one, man.
Yep, great run.
All right, Steve. So let's say we're gonna go from the nerd lit to the lead nerd, if you will. That's gonna be the number 11 of Matt Wagner. So we're going to drag Matt on in here. Started in the 7th position, if I'm not mistaken. Jumps up into 2nd. And man, it was just figuring out the right move at the right time to try to get around Nick there. But it looked like you guys were able to make those passes on one another. But then he just found something on that inside line that made just a little more challenging for you to try to work the outside. Steve and I talked about the strategy, maybe try and take fuel only on that stop to just get you track position. Did you feel like the tires were maybe what let you down there at the end, him having just those slightly fresher tires?
No, clean air is king here at Pocono. If I would have got the correct track position, it's going to be much easier than tires, and then your truck stuck back there in that dirty air. Too bad for that caution, which hurt us quite considerably.
I want you to know, Matt, I sat here and I did some advanced math when I saw how far you went on fuel those first couple stops. And I was like, holy shit, he can make it on one less pit stop. If this thing goes green, Matt's going to win this race by a lot.
Yeah, I was ahead by Scott by 1 or maybe 2. I think it was 2 laps. We pitted before him. So it's unfortunate the way it's attrition. It's going to happen. Cautions are going to wave. And as soon as they group back up, and of course, cautions are going to fly again. So I wanted to insurance myself coming down pit road. I felt like fuel only was the key there. I didn't have that many green flag laps on my tires, so I just took fuel only. Why risk it? I'm not going to risk me running out of fuel.
Yeah, I think that was the right move to make because you knew that you had to be on it for the rest of the race.
Yes, sir. Like I said, tires really don't up front. They do mean a lot when you're trapped back in the traffic. So it was good for us. Hopefully, it's a bummer that caution came out. That would have been our first win of the season, but that's the way it goes.
But you were still right there, man, right in the thick of it and going back and forth with Nick. And he did the right stuff to protect himself those last 3 laps.
Yeah, I felt like I gave him a little bit too much room. I probably should have pinned him down a little bit more, forced him to check up. That I kind of regret doing. So it is what it is, and I'll learn from it.
Yeah, on the other hand, you might have had a net code and ended up in the wall. So you only lost by 25 1,000ths of a second. You had a hell of a run off turn 3. And if you could have just found just a teeny bit more off the outside, you'd have had him.
Yeah, I think I gave him too much room on the bottom there. But like I said, the clean air means a whole bunch. So I regret pinching him down there. So he probably would have forced him to lift. So It's racing.
Nah.
It was fun as hell to watch that battle with you.
Yeah,
guys,
I'll say it was good, but good and hard and clean racing. I think honestly that's about all you can hope for a racing league. So I say of course you always want to win these ones, but I'd say it's always a tough spot to be in that position where you didn't quite get it. But like I said, I feel like if you're gonna do it, you want to do it the right way. So I don't think you have anything to hold your head down on that one, man. It was a lot of fun watching you go after him there. So with that, though, we definitely want to give you the opportunity for saying thanks and shout outs here for your runner-up spot tonight.
I'd like to shout out to my headset for not dying this time and holding up. Kind of like Dark Horse, it kind of disintegrated on me and cost us a lot of spots that race. It held up tonight. I lowered my graphics settings. Thank you, headset, for holding up. Big shout out to Steve over there in the broadcast booth. Happy birthday. How old are we?
Thanks, buddy.
I
have to say?
I think I heard he's 21 finally.
Are you 21? Really?
I wish.
No, but go ahead.
Times 3 plus 3.
Oh my goodness, you are getting up there, my friend. But seriously, all of us here at Area 51 wish you a happy birthday, and really do appreciate you being up at the podcast booth with Gael. It's a pleasure listening to you each week, man. It's simply an honor.
Thank you, Matt. I love watching you guys race, so it's a pleasure to be up here. And of course, I got my buddy Gael over there, who I love spending time with. So this is a good way to spend my birthday.
Yep, he's a good man. He's a good partner in crime. Trust me. I know that from. I'm really speechless after this race tonight. So.
No.
Wow.
You needed a good finish so bad, Matt. The way this year has gone.
Yeah,
so.
This whole year in Area 51 has been it's been a whole down spell for me. And as you guys see in the broadcast, me and Charles been getting into it, but not tonight. Won my deal. So I don't know what happened to Charles, but wish him the best the very next race. The floor also I would like to thank Area 51. You guys are the best racers, good friends. Everybody, I love you.
All right, Matt. Well, enjoy this one. I'll say we'll drag you up so you can debrief more with Scott. And I'll say we got one more person to chat with. So, like I say, great job. Yeah, I know. Great job, though, Matt. And say enjoy this one. I'll say just more incentive to go get him next week, man.
All right, Gael, Steve, take care.
Yeah, you too. Great job, man.
All right, so we got to go jump over to that driver that he is booing, and that is going to be our race winner in that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. Jumps 4 spots to grab the win here tonight. And I say one thing didn't change is you were up front for the most part of this race here, but what changed was kind of who you're getting to work with at the kind of the beginning and middle and kind of 3/4 portion of the race. Say as you and Jim there doing the leapfrog battle, kind of just stretching the lead on those guys behind you. But then let's say we're watching field numbers. Steve was doing some big calculations on the math on the calculator. How much were you aware of what maybe some people are trying to maybe pull a pit stop away from you guys, or were you just kind of like, hey, I'm just going to run as fast as I can and we'll see where everything drops if we stay green?
I knew from the get-go that if it went green all the way, there was the possibility that you could make it if you saved hard the entire race. I was just hoping that not a lot of people would go for it, because my plan from lap 1, you guys probably saw it, I was going for it. From lap 1, I wasn't saving anything because I was betting on a yellow. I thought in 90 laps at Pocono, a very tricky triangle, as they call it, there was going to have to be a yellow. And yeah, if we didn't get the yellow there, we were still setting up for a pretty good finish. Me and Jim worked really well together and got a huge lead on everybody else. So I know Matt could have made it. I think Scott could have made it, and maybe Anders. So we were still setting up for a easy top 5, but caution came out just like I expected, just a bit later than I thought it would, and we got to have quite the finish there.
Yeah, so it went from nice and friendly kind of leapfrogging with you and Jim to kind of just go ahead and ditch the field there to you and Matt trying to basically try to be the first one in front just in case of that late yellow, because again, you don't have those green white checkers to fall back on here on the Indy side of things. So we saw a lot of aggressive racing from you two to try to hold that lead. And then Steve mentioned the big change you did that towards the very end there. I think it was like 3 to go maybe. You started to live on that inside line, protect the bottom, and cause we've seen people make passes on the outside, but whatever you're able to do, though, you kept enough momentum to prevent Matt from clearing you to try to drop to that inside line on you. So it was a really good and a great move there at the end to try to protect that lead there at the very end.
Yeah, I think the most important change that you made was when you were coming off at turn 1, staying on the inside going into the tunnel turn, so Matt didn't get under you there, because that seemed to be the real advantage. If you could get on the inside going into the tunnel turn, you usually managed to get past, and then you had the advantage through turn 3 all the way to the start finish line.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're thinking about a caution as well. And the guy on the inside's got his nose out in front more often than not. So that's very good as well coming into the final few laps there. But the main thing I was worried about, and it was something I actually practiced on Matt on one of those late restarts, is if he was going to be able to hang on my outside through turn 3. I did that to him at one point to see what would happen, and it just pinches that guy off, and the outside guy wins the race. So I was worried that he was going to be able to hang on my door into the final corner, and thankfully it wasn't. He still got pretty close with the run coming to the finish line. But yeah, the inside paid off. I really wasn't sure though. I know it looked like I knew what I was doing, but I was 50-50. I'm like, do I want to be top? Do I want to be bottom? Okay, he wants top. Guess I'll be bottom. I really wasn't sure where to go there, and thankfully we ended up picking the right one.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun watching you duel it out, and like I said, I mean, just overall, just a really great race for you as well. And of course, mentioned with Scott as well, capitalizing on a tough night for Craig to jump you guys back up into the points there as well. So you don't have the numbers offhand, but I say I'm gonna guess that'll probably propel you back up to the front there. So kind of the best of both there. Of course, you always want to get the win, but say to get you right back into the thick of that points is always a good way to kind of finish up a night as well.
Yeah, and I think me, Scott, and Craig have all used up our mulligan with one drop week. So from this point onward, if any of us have trouble, that's going to really hurt us in the championship. So it's time to tiptoe.
Yeah, you'll definitely have to kind of be careful of stuff. And yeah, so it looks like, so indeed, after tonight, you finish up with an 18-point lead over Craig, 19 over Scott. But saying it's kind of, you guys have snuck away from the rest of the field from fourth on back at the moment. So you obviously things can change a lot there. But yeah, so like I said, that drop week's going to possibly be extremely big for how the race pans out, though, for the rest of the way. So, but yeah, just awesome job tonight, though, Nick. And before we let you go, of course, always want to give you the opportunity for some thanks and shout-outs for getting the win here tonight. I know you've got some great sponsors on the side of that car, so definitely want to get you the floor here.
Yeah, first of all, thank you to whoever designed Pocono, because I love this track. It's one of those race tracks that I just love to race at. It's really fun every time, and it's gonna be even more fun with the DW12 tomorrow, I think, at Dark Horse. But thank you to everyone at Factory Back Motorsports, Comer.com, Motorsport.com, BlazePod, DeGroot Automotive, U-Haul Detailing, Cowboy Shit, and everybody else who supports this team. Thank you to Wagner there for one hell of a race, and I'm glad we could put on a show for you, Steve, because I found out that it's your birthday, so happy birthday, man.
Thank you very much, Nick. And I have to say, that was an exciting show. I enjoyed it so much.
Yeah, glad we get a photo finish for you.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, so another one to add to your collection there as well on the photo finishes. Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
Yeah, me too.
So just add it to the bucket.
Yeah, but no, awesome job though tonight, Nick. Like I said, getting the win. It was very well deserved. Like I said, a little bit of everything tonight with you kind of sneaking away from the field with Jim there, and then playing this side, like making those big moves at the end to be able to hold on and grab that win tonight. So yeah, definitely enjoy this one, man. It was definitely a hard fought finish, so enjoy it. But we'll look forward to catching you again next week, sir.
Thanks. Can't say I'm looking forward to Iowa, but I'll be there. See you guys.
Congrats on the win.
Thanks.
All right, Steve, that is our race winner in that number 89 of Nick DeGroot. And yeah, just like I said, went caution free for what? Just about to the last pit stop there. So probably about, I want to say it was about what, 60 lap screen. No, I'm sorry, about 70 lap screen almost. And then those couple cautions at the end, but yeah, it was going to be interesting to see how it all panned out. Obviously, Matt and Scott felt pretty good on the fuel numbers. It just would have been fun to see that final stop. Would have been a quicker stop for Jim and Nick there. They would have not had to top it off to the finish there, and they were working very well together versus saving fuel like Matt and them were doing. So had that played out, it would have been very exciting for a different reason. But say we got one of our typical wild Indy finishes there with those leaders going back and forth, just trying to get the win there at the end.
Yeah, it definitely is very wild and one of the more fun races that we've had.
So I'm gonna spare you my singing, but yeah, definitely want to wish you a very, very happy birthday, Steve. I like I said, I felt a little guilty to drag you out on your birthday and make you work, but it's always a pleasure to spend any time with you, and say even more so on your birthday. So I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. I know you're gonna probably celebrate more tomorrow. So tell Button she's gonna have to give you some sort of a present that's hopefully not anything terrible. But yeah. Just hope you had a wonderful day today, man. Definitely look forward to doing a lot more of these with you, though.
Thanks a lot, Kyle. And yeah, definitely. I think tomorrow is going to be the big dinner celebration.
That's always a good time. So, Steve, thank you so much, everybody that watches us and supports us here on Green White Checker TV. Thank you all for being a part of this as well. It wouldn't go very far without you guys being a part of this one and supporting and viewing. So, yeah, thank you all as well for everything. And again, drivers as well. What a great race tonight. So again, congrats to our top three: Nick DeGroot, Matt Wagner, and Scott Rankin. We'll be back on Thursday night for the Super Speedway Truck Series. And until then, though, like I said, for Steve and myself, thank you all so much for watching, for supporting us. Hope you all have a wonderful evening. Of course, as always, stay safe. And until Thursday, have a good night all.